Hi, this is Peter Godinez with K80Y TV, your ambassador with the version of Good Morning Port Hueneme. And we have the lovely SYLVIA SCHNOPP and MUNOZ. Sorry, I almost forgot that third part.
Okay, yeah,
you know, it's just three things. But anyway, we're here to get another update on the very interesting, might add, just Measure M. So we always look forward to collaboration, conversation, and we were hoping that possibly you could maybe just educate us more, because there's so much to this particular measure. So what will probably be the first thing you'd like to maybe clarify or say about what's going on with Measure M?
Okay, thank you, Peter. So Measure M is a business license tax, and it's actually updating a business license tax fee that was first brought to the city in the 1970s. That was effectively when President Jimmy Carter was in office. And for the almost 38, 40 years that the city has had this business license fee, we've not updated it at all. So the categories are still the same back in, almost 40 years ago when businesses existed. We didn't have internet businesses. Many people didn't have small businesses. There were, corporations, or maybe they were more of service-based professional services, like what you would maybe classify a real estate agency or an accountancy firm. So there weren't categories to capture some of the businesses that are now here within the city. And so effectively what we needed to do legally is to put the whole choice out to the voters in Port Hueneme. We couldn't just make a change at the city and City Hall effectively say, this is what we'd like our new business license tax to look like. We had to take it to the voters first. And that was based on a law then that was passed in the 1990s. So, we've been working with a very antiquated system, a very old set of rules to tax the businesses in Port Hueneme, and we're just trying to update it now, but based legally on what we can do. It's a tax that will only affect a business in Port Hueneme. It won't affect anyone who lives there, no residents, nothing based according to anything else other than if you run a business in Port Hueneme or have a small business running out of your house or are part of a corporation and you sell to people in Port Hueneme, you'll need a business license tax and a business license. I myself have had a consulting company since 2002, and I've paid my fair share for a business license fee. And every year, it comes up that it's due July 1, and so every year I've effectively paid for that. But there are many corporations, this is probably really hard to understand, Peter, many corporations that have yet to pay a business license fee in Port Hueneme, but exist there.
Right.
And so that's the kicker to all of this, is that we're not collecting all the business license fees. We're collecting it based on, 1970 information. And there are a lot of people who are upset because, number one, they haven't paid it, and number two, we're going to bring it up to the 21st century in standards. What we've also done at the city is that we have gone out and asked other cities around us, how do they collect business license fees and what do they charge? Do they charge according to the size of the corporation, how many employees they have, what the revenue is all about? Do they have a flat fee for those that may have an office in Oxnard but have business run in Ventura? How that all balances out. And so we've really taken a look, and we're very, very comparable to all the cities in Ventura County and the County of Ventura with what they charge. And just want to state this out to everyone, is that whether you have a business in Camarillo or a business in Thousand Oaks or a business in Port Hueneme, you should have a business license. And you should pay a business license tax according to that city. Some companies need multiple licenses in order to run a business in Ventura County, depending on the cities that they're conducting their business in. And so that's something that businesses take care of when they look at cost of doing business in that city, right?
And you being a business person yourself, you understand you know, the positives, but yet the fear is,
Yeah.
the anxiety of running a business. So
Yeah.
you're speaking from a business person
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. So, I just want to tell the viewers that it's a business license tax for any business that's in Port Hueneme. It updates a very old and antiquated system that we've had for almost 40 years. We've not done it at any of this time, and finally we realized we need to bite the bullet and get this done. Brings it up to 21st century standards on what kind of businesses you can find out there. And it only taxes businesses. It doesn't tax residents and individuals. And, I want to set the record straight. It's not going to drive the Navy away, and it's not going to drive the port customers away. Some Navy consultants, as well as some port customers, have yet to ever pay a business license tax. So they're screaming bloody murder, but it's because they've not abided by the local laws, and that means if you run a business, you need a business license tax.
Right.
But for the most part is that if these businesses go to other ports and other cities, they're going to have to pay a business license tax there anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't, it's not where they can get away with it some other place, because they probably can't.
Mm-hmm.
They'll try, but maybe they can't. And next thing too is that it actually brings in some revenue for the city, but it's the way businesses are going to be charged this license fee is based on their impact to the city.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have 400 people coming to your business here in Port Hueneme, you're going to pay more than if you had 4 people coming in to the city. And the cost of doing business is based on your impact. So if you have more employees driving over our roads and other things, you're going to have to pay for, the maintenance to the roadway and the additional city services, all based on what impact your business has. So like say, for instance, you have customers in Port Hueneme, but you're based out of an office in Ventura.
Right.
Well, you're only going to pay for, what you gain in the city of Port Hueneme. It's not going to be double taxed. It's going to be what you bring in.
And that's a truth, fact.
And that's what happens in every city.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll find that on their business license permits. They ask you those questions.
If I can interject, and you're explaining it all, okay, the one misunderstanding that's coming from the other side, okay, is that you are going to charge 17,000% increase to some people. In other words, the laws that you updated, my understanding, is so that for the future, but I think it's been misunderstood what that level is going to be for each of the businesses.
Yeah. So Bob, really has a case in point that there has been a misunderstanding, and the other side has actually told you the sky is falling, and then have taken to the extreme of what it could be. With this law that was passed by the state legislature in the 1990s, and it said anything that is not property tax has to be taken to the voters first. Once they pass the law, then you decide what it is, but you have to spell out the range. So what people are doing now is they're taking that range and saying they're going to go all the way to the nth degree. Instead of realizing the reality is that once the voters of Port Hueneme pass Measure M with a yes, and I feel very confident that it's going to be an overwhelming yes to Measure M, then we sit down at City Council and we have open hearings. And we want to find out from the community what would be a fair and equitable way of taxing based on this formula that we have. We're not going to go to the nth degree, and maybe there's some businesses that pay 0, that we feel that their impact to the city is very, very minimal, if not 0. And so there's a wide range of that. The people who've been scaring folks with intimidation and other tactics have been telling them it's going to be at this really very high level. I believe it's going to be somewhere in the middle, possibly lower. When you're taking a look at what things cost, let's ask you, what did we pay for a gallon of gas back in 1976?
76?
What did we pay for a pen? Or what did we pay for a battery back then? Or, what did we pay for cars back then? Well, everything has increase because of cost, inflation, using resources, etc. So why should we be charging based on what the gallon of gas was in 1976 versus now it's, coming down in price, but it's effectively about $3.50 a gallon. Versus back then, I think we were paying under 30 cents a gallon. So, there's that big difference too. So people will say, oh my gosh, my tax is going up. And a lot of those people screaming are those that have never paid a tax in Port Hueneme. So this is just really setting the record straight, bringing it to the 21st century, allowing the community to say, yes, we want an increase, and for the community to help us then decide based on this formula that we had to spell out in the law, in the measure, where do we sit when we finally implement all of this. There's also then an appeals process that we've set up for Measure M. So that's to say if there's a corporation and they feel that their tax is either too much or they have a question about it, they can actually appeal their amount. There's even currently, today and now, and it'll carry into the new Measure M, it would be where if you have a nonprofit in Port Hueneme, you still have to get a business license, but your tax is zero. Mm-hmm. But you still have to get a business license. And so there could possibly, and I think there are a few that have set up a nonprofit, but they're not paying or they're not registered, and they really do need to be. And so that's what we're trying to affect here, Measure M. We're trying to catch up to the standards of today and now for businesses.
Sometimes, if I could just interject one more time, and I apologize, Peter.
No, I'm a ventriloquist and I can actually do Bob Allen's voice, so watch my lips are not moving.
Well, it's an object trying to get as much information. Sometimes there are unintended consequences of a vote going, one way or the other. You've talked about the positive side of it being, voted positively. What would happen if, on the other side, it was decided a no on Measure M? What would the city's position then be?
So the city's position on Measure M, if we had to, to say, hey, the community didn't want that, is trying to figure out who is then paying for a business license fee and who isn't. For those that aren't paying for a business license fee but do have a business, they face fines. They face other very serious situations on whether or not they have a business in the community. As a matter of fact, we just found out within the last couple of weeks is that the law firm that has been representing the Port of Hueneme, Oxnard Harbor District for many, many years has never paid a business license fee. They've made millions in our city, but have never paid for a fee. One person even told our city, sue me, because he's not willing to pay for a business license fee. So, you sit there and go, there are some scoundrels out there that may never want to pay for anything. They are scofflaws. They are not abiding by the laws, and they could care less whether they're, whether they are. And it's here in Port Hueneme or it's in other cities that they're doing business in. But I feel confident, and I know that our citizens in Port Hueneme are very engaged and devoted people. The money that is going to be brought in by this update to business licensees will help us protect our beach, will help us with the pier and the pilings and, really all the maintenance, but also having a great looking community. And I think that's what we stand out about. And so this would then help us protect our beach community and provide those services that are very necessary for our community. That's how cities use the business license tax, and that's how Port Hueneme is going to use it. It's no different from any other city.
And it's interesting because it was just reported that 450,000 people are now registered to vote in Ventura County. Do you know what the last turnout was for just the Port Hueneme area in terms of the number of people who came out and voted?
We had quite a bit of turnout because the last vote was a presidential vote.
Right.
And so usually that drives more people to come out. I think Port Hueneme registered one of the highest percentage of voter turnouts. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of people who have either served in the military or retired who understand the importance of voting and registering to vote. And so I believe there were almost There were like 8,500 people out of Port Hueneme that voted 2 years ago.
No, I like the format we've had because this is all pursuit of the truth. Try to minimize on the fear, you know, because there is a lot of fear strategy going on, which I won't, you know, mention. But I appreciate the spirit of informative and teaching and what the truth is. So Sylvia, that's vintage you, because you're
Thank
speaking
you.
from a business person as well as a resident, as well as somebody who really cares about community. So we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. We know you have to leave right now, so we appreciate your time.
Thank you, Peter.
Anyway, this is